welcome back to Theory of Three. I am your host, Curtis. I think this is season 1, episode 3. Thank you guys for listening. I wanted to first talk about, as a discussion, real quick. We were talking before the podcast. I had sent all the guys, we're in a group message, and I sent all the guys a couple stills from a DP that we all know, that I had to jog Austin's memory about. But the pictures or the stills were from a shoot that he had done, and it wasn't so much about the stills and how it was about how he shot it, but it was about the style that he shot it in. And I'm seeing this a lot in recent stuff, probably the last 2 or 3 years, where a lot of DPs that don't have a huge team will underexpose like everything. You know, it's like that dark, what you were saying, dark, underexposed, muddy. It's like, and they're supposed to be artistic, but it's like a lot of silhouettes.
Unnecessary silhouettes.
Yeah, and it's just like, I hate that trend. I mean, there's probably some people that can do it very, very well, but I absolutely hate that trend.
I mean, it's a style, though. To some
style,
degree.
There's a style to it, but there's a good version of it. I mean,
that's a sound guy saying it's a style.
It's a combination of both, like, I guess, an atmospheric-based look where you're, basing off of practical lighting and, single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. But, but I think even more than that, it's just the way they even color grade it. It's just
and it reminds me of horror films. Like, you're supposed to, like, one of the stills I'm referring to is like the guy is working and there's a single quasar, which again, that's another.
We're not gonna get into the whole quasar
thing,
yeah.
But this whole idea that it was super underexposed, like a lot of the shots were underexposed, and that just tells me it's just like inexperience. That looks amateurish. Like there's no purpose. It's underexposed, and I know what the scene would look like, especially just from the location of how dark it was. That I know what it could have been based on if it was lit well. You know what I mean? It was in a very like a woodworking shop, and that stuff. I've seen so many good videos, probably 2 or 3, that are very, very good, specifically about that. Like the color tones you can get in those scenes if it's lit, But it's one of those things that just gets me, and I was talking to one of our directors about it, and he was like, yeah, you have to send me some stills because I kind of know what you're talking about, and I'm going to have to send him these because this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. But yeah, that's just been something it's been interesting to look at how the industry's changing, especially if, and I see a lot of with like a single DP that will do it where, and I just don't understand, it's like, crank up the f-stop just a little bit, or ISO or something, like expose it.
Bring the exposure up, yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of DPs go for this, I don't know, early morning pink sunrise, that soft light that happens in early morning with the hand over top the woodwork and the dust floating down, and they end up with like
shot on a C100.
It's sort of, but then they end up, I don't know, they just miss the mark completely on what that vibe is. I mean, you can't really get that same feel from. I mean, they also do this deal where they will shoot. I know a couple of Red user guys that I follow. They will shoot on extremely low contrast, and they'll do the single light setup. So the shadows to light ratio is extremely blurred, and it's just this. I don't know how to describe it. It's like putrid gray. Like everything just has a haze to it, and it doesn't have life to it. Doesn't have a vibe, and they use it as this artistic. I am a hipster with my mustache and drinking a latte vibe.
Yeah, living in my Sprinter.
Yeah, living in my Sprinter. Yeah.
Yeah, it should just be hashtag Sprinter life, hashtag like mobile home, hashtag build my own shit. Yeah. Like that type of stuff is what. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I feel like it's kind of stemming into that whole idea of like the new Fiji or the Fujian film cameras that I think they just released. Yep, everyone's talking about. Yep. The still cameras is like everyone's taking that type of style. It's very underexposed, very like raw. And there's good underexposed raw photos that you can get, but there needs to be some very, very specific style you're going after. Either a very hard color shift, but it just doesn't work for me in that scenario with the Carpenter and the one Quasar. It just doesn't look good. Like who works in that low of light is what my question is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is true. My question is, what client? Like I don't remember. I can't think of a good commercial that's come out from a major brand company that's had like a low light low contrast, something that looks like what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I think I feel like, man, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I'm thinking maybe, well, we're talking woodworking, and I'm thinking Ryobi would be like the closest one. And they did one, what was it? It was maybe 6 months ago. They did one where it was a character shoot, where they talked about this guy only used Ryobi equipment in his workshop, and it was kind of flat.
Yeah.
But
no, I've seen some really good videos, and we'll link those below in the description to make sure that you guys kind of know what we're talking about, because those are super interesting to watch as well. Because it's just phenomenal storytelling, phenomenal cinematography on that end. But yeah, that's definitely something that has been I wanted to talk about for sure on this week's podcast. So
nice. Yeah, I mean, I guess in other news, the only other real cool thing, speaking of CineGear, the expo, this year it's been kind of interesting because Panavision's been coming out with a lot of different things. Obviously, for those that have been around Panavision for a while or at least know what they do, they have their own like hybrid version of the Monstro system built into the Panavision DLX, and the DLX system, which is what David Fincher used in Mindhunter to film that entire process, which I believe is what exactly he used for the second season, which will be coming out later this year or next year. It's later this year. Mindhunter season 2. I think it's later this year.
Later this year or early next year?
Yeah, one or the other.
I would assume it's early next year. Yeah.
But yeah, no, tying into that though, Panavision this year has been absolutely killing it with some of their new add-ons, some of the new body designs that they've been able to have, the new housing systems they're using for the new sensors.
Is that what they shot Mindhunter on?
Yeah,
They
the
did?
Panavision DLX. Yeah,
Okay.
it's amazing, and it's primarily because he wanted to have the functionality. So, in short, for those who don't know what the Panavision DLX is, the Panavision took a red Monstro AK sensor and kept it inside the brain, but rehoused the entire system and built a system that is very similar to the Ari Alexa XT. So fully wireless integrated video village, fully wireless focus, to where all of the main components for your lens runs wirelessly. You don't have to put any gears on it, nothing. It's just a full system.
So if the camera breaks down or your wireless system goes out, you got to replace the whole camera.
Well, no, it's modular.
Yeah.
So the systems come out.
Yeah,
it's really really cool.
Sure.
But most importantly, it's about this long. So it has a shoulder pad.
Good 12
it's
to 18
like
inches.
it's like a full size camera. It's built just like the Alexa almost. Just
so like
upgraded, more modern.
camera or something.
Sort of smaller in height because it's DMC2 size. Panavision has for several years, even though a lot of people have complained about it, they have only rented the cameras. They won't sell them, so you have to rent those cameras from Panavision directly. Anyway, this year they've released quite a bit of new products, but the one I'm very intrigued by is the new. Oh man, what was it called? It's called the LCND or the LCND Panavision ND system. It's so what it is. It's liquid crystal. And it's a single ND that you can, obviously fit inside of your normal matte boxes. And it uses electrical charges to adjust the density within the filter.
Huh.
And it runs on a battery. So you change your ND no matter what size to precision through this electrical charge system.
Isn't that something that like a variable ND?
No, not even close. Not even close. See, variable NDs work completely differently. So the thing with this is not only is it light, but the glass is so extremely thin because it's using electrical charges with liquid crystal in between it. So it's precise like ND.
Huh.
And the best part is it'll run for 24 hours. Anyway, the technology's been around for about 20 years, but even Panavision talked about how it's been extremely difficult, and it is extremely difficult to get the right kind of high quality liquid crystals to balance it within the system for it to be charged correctly. But yeah, anyway, pretty much all the DPs out there are tripping out about it. Because it's pretty much, if the technology really takes off and this takes off on its own, it's pretty much gonna just change the entire industry, in my opinion.
What's the stability of it?
Oh, fantastic! Oh, it's insane. Think about this. It's turning a almost an analog system of putting pieces of glass in front for ND into an electronic, finger controlled or even like digitally controlled ND, precision wise.
Okay.
And in speed, you don't have to change out NDs anymore. You can put it up to the front and just turn it off.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a lot. That says a lot. And knowing that that's where Panavision is going, it's going to technically push the industry to a point where that ND could very easily become the IR system or IR filtration.
Yeah.
So imagine having an IR filtration system built into an ND system that all you have to do is click a button and change your ND.
Yeah.
Boom. I mean, imagine how fast it's going to speed up your production on set. You know?
Yeah.
Your ACs are never going to have to talk about it. You're never going to have that conversation. That's why lenses are going to wireless, lens control. All of these different things that are just being innovated. So, good job on Panavision.
And the technology is moving so quickly. It's unbelievable. Yep. Yeah, CineGear just happened because we're recording this on June 6th. Yeah. And which is D-Day for any of you guys that don't know that. CineGear happened last week, I think. Super good. I haven't sat down and actually looked at any of the new technology that have come out. I know Phil Austin has a little bit, but I think the only thing that I've looked at was the new aperture light. But
I haven't looked at anything.
Good.
No.
I wanted the aperture. Like, I had worked with the aperture for the first time. I've heard so many people talk about how bad it is. Like the Mach 1 or the version 1, I should say, or the prototype because it's that bad. But it was just so many damn ballasts. One ballast and he just like hangs off the stand. It's
so you got the main line running from your power source into the first ballast, and then from that ballast into a second ballast that hangs off of the
and there's a 4-pin. It's 4-pin to 5-pin, then 5-pin to 5. It's unstupid believable, and it's like, why do we need these ballasts? One's for batteries, and then the other one's for dimming. It's like, Jesus Christ. And there's so much cable and shit laying around. It's like, what the heck? But I had saw a demo for the new version 2. I should say version 1 because this is what they should have come out with in the beginning. But this is version 1 for the 300D.
Mm-hmm.
They had said the equipment, they had put the lens, which is interesting, the housing for it. It's 20% brighter than the first one, which is super dope. And it is a little shy of a 575 HMI. That's a lot of output.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
They're also making a Leica system that you can put on to the front of the up front.
Wow.
So it's like that's going to be dope because it kind of eliminates the idea of a Joe Leica because it's daylight already. You know what I mean? You have a Leica and a Joe Leica. I wish that at some point the aperture will create something that's bicolor, like having a unit like that, the 300D that's bicolor.
Imagine one with
that would
like
be dope
that
as
could
hell.
That could have a Leica interchangeable with a bicolor.
That's
system.
what I'm hoping for because that's the thing is like I absolutely love the Joe Leicos and I've used them for a long time and I love them, but having something that is fully dimmable as like the aperture is super dope, and you can add like the 26 degree and the the 90 degree and the 60 degree as well. That's just going to be super cool.
That would be incredible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't quote me on that because I think if there's either a 26 or a 29 degree. There's so many different degrees and trying
to keep up with them all.
Yeah. That's kind of the only thing I've looked at on CineGear when it tech-wise come out, because that's the only thing I'm really quote unquote interested in. And I know that Sky Panels came out with some other stuff which is super cool. That's kind of it on that end.
So movies and actually TV series. And speaking of Mindhunter and the new season that's coming out,
and the Panavision you were talking about.
Yeah, and the Panavision. There was an interview done by David Fincher talking about Mindhunter and how he kind of approached it. And one of the most fascinating things, and by the way, I love David Fincher. He has a lot of fantastic things. He's definitely I wouldn't say he's one of my favorite. But I have massive respect for him.
How dare you?
Yeah. No, but he talked about his approach to lighting, and he pretty much in the interview said I don't give a about lighting. It has nothing. There is no rules. I just walk in, see the scene. What's gonna look cool? He's like, that's pretty much my opinion.
Yeah.
And after I read that article, I actually looked up Mindhunter again and watched the first episode. And I began to realize one of my favorite things about the way he chooses to do things, and I don't know whether it's because of the lens choices or whether it's because of the system that he's using. Because pretty much, I mean, the monster is full frame.
Yeah,
it might be something to do with that. But he has the same effect that Christopher Nolan has. When in The Dark Knight, they talk about how, so for those that don't know about The Dark Knight, one of the secrets in that entire like filming process for Christopher Nolan, they shot most of the major action sequences on a 50 and 75 mil.
Yeah.
Which is blows me away. But they would shoot that at 5.6 to have the character, and they chose to do this because they wanted the characters to be dead sharp without any room or variance within the depth of field. So it was perfectly clear, but because you're shooting on such a long lens, you have incredible depth. So at 5.6, and let's say you shoot at like ASA 800, you're gonna have this incredibly sharp picture without this weird like flexo deal when you know close-ups on Batman's face. You know, his entire face from his nose to the back of his helmet is in focus, not just like half his face or just his eyes.
Yeah.
You know, you're dealing with like 12 to 16 inches worth of actual true focus, and then everything else falls off because you're on a longer lens. And I started noticing that David Fincher does that exact same thing, and excellently. Yeah. Because with that era of like the 70s and like, or technically, what was it, the 60s and 70s? Is when they're, it's the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I think 70s.
With their 70s, yeah, that like that time period or that era. There, he was able to nail such a clean, like I'm talking like if you look at their palettes, just the color tones obviously are set in the 70s, so he's already got that very that design.
Yep.
But just the way he nailed the frames every single time with having the person's face, unless it was specifically chosen to have like that really like shallow depth of field.
Yeah.
I mean, they were always crystal clear, and there was no like focus chasing. No. It's just perfect.
Was it just me, or did that whole TV series seem very bland? And when I say bland, I mean as in contrast, color, saturation.
Yes,
I absolutely love that because to me it felt like, even from a character standpoint, having someone that is a serial killer, they don't have any emotions. They don't see things the way we do. Mm-hmm. They don't see light. They don't see color. They're very like monotone, is could I say. And throughout the show, our character, the person that we're following, his life, he's starting to imitate that. You know what I mean? He's starting to read people. He's starting to get into people's heads and starts to kind of absorb what he's talking, been gathering from that guy. And even in the prison, any of those conversations, the hospital, like that was so monotone. Like they really heavily played on blue, but you didn't see warm colors at all.
And what warm colors were this dull?
Yeah, very dull.
Yellow.
And
very dull.
So you guys are talking the same thing about what we were talking about earlier, where it's flat, or is it?
No,
different?
there's a difference. What I would say in some sense is there's a DP. There's a choice between very dark and very flat. The flatness, what I'm talking about in Mindhunter, is it's very bright but flat. There's very little, like even in the hospital and the prison, there was surprisingly little shadow. And that's what got me that was interesting, because then I started doing research on it. It's like, why did they light it this way? Why did he light it this way? Because there's a distinct version between, I feel like, what everyone thinks as an interrogation room and then what they did in Mindhunter. What they did in Mindhunter was that they sat him down in the cafeteria, and you could hear in the background the other inmates, but it wasn't lit in a very like, this is an interrogation, there's one light, and like it's very intentional, and there's dark shadows. It was just very flat, monotone, but
almost unnerving.
Yeah, it was
very unnerving,
and it was the character and the actor. He played such a, like, his very even keel. I don't really care. Even him taking the shoes, and that's such a disturbing scene, and it lets onto his character so much. But that scene where he takes the shoes out of the box and walks over to the edge, and everyone knows that watches, because I'm not going to go into what he does.
Because I've never watched.
Yeah, he's never watched it
ever.
Yeah. But that scene, like, it's lit in a way that it doesn't seem like.
Nothing distracts.
Exactly.
You just have to experience what he's doing. It's almost like they forced you into like a coma of just all the colors are just
and
there, but
there's nothing being lit.
Yes.
He's not holding back from anything of the detectives, and they're asking everything. Yep. And that's what I absolutely love about that. Even the stuff outside, you know? And that's one of the things that gets me about the idea behind these DPs. I don't think, in some sense, what I was talking earlier about the whole very underexposed, they never stay away from this whole, like, they it's very vibrant. And when I say vibrant, very saturated. Sometimes when I see it, it's very bluish. There's very like morning, like you're saying, like very morningish yellows. They like to play with that type of stuff. And very dark underexposed. This wasn't underexposed, but it was flat, and it was very like desaturated. The clothes they wore, even his clothes, like blues, like very blue. And it was interesting to see how they did that. Very, very interesting. I haven't done that much research into David Fincher and how he lights, so I'll have to do some. Because I've never heard him say that. I've done a lot more into Roger Deakins, which is the god.
Obviously.
Yeah. Of cinematography. But Roger Deakins and a couple other guys that I really, really like DP-wise. But, yeah, that was one of the things that stood out to me in American's life. Like, what's interesting is, like, his wardrobe change as well. Like, when he went back to the house and broke up with his girlfriend, like, her wardrobe was very, like, vibrant, like very like I think she had like yellow and stuff like that, and she always kind of wore yellow. And he was starting to very like imitate like the blue, like even the flashbacks to that that flashback to that cop or that cop that was the serial killer, and he was like stalking this house, and he was like that guy. Those even looked like that was even more desaturated. You know what I mean?
More desaturated and very like flat paleted colors, like the
very gray,
undertone colors.
Yeah. And that's kind of I absolutely love that they chose
that's
and
such
deliberately did it.
Nice tone. Just there's something, and I also I just realized something too. Hoyt von Hoytman in Interstellar.
Yeah.
You notice how the colors are just there, but they never like blow your mind. They're just pretty.
Yeah.
It's that same context, but because of Mindhunter's like specific, and I think it has a lot to do with the sensor. I don't know how to describe it. There's a difference obviously between film and digital, and I think film is able to take those very muted colors, very distinct red, but it's muted, and have a granular like physical there's something about it that's almost you could touch it.
Makes it real.
With digital and Mindhunter, it's almost like it's paint. It's almost like it's glossy. It's glass. That's the best way to describe it. It's so smooth, and because you're shooting at 8K, it's that very undetectable, almost ultra realism to the color, but it's muted. So it adds this like canvas that you're not allowed to like feel expression based off of like a bright yellow flower or a bright green grass, or it's just it exists, and you just have to experience the character because his world is very much so like his surrounding.
Exactly. And that was one of the things, like even talking about that, Dexter was like a huge play into that whole idea behind very desaturated. Reds were a huge thing because of blood. That was kind of his story, but this desaturated look behind these serial killer films is very interesting. And the new one with what's his name? Blanking on Ted Bundy. That has.
I've not watched that.
I haven't either, but it's
I've
very
heard good and bad.
It's very vibrant, is what I've heard. But he's very charming. A lot of people are like, he's too charming. It's like, dude, that's what he was. Yeah. That's exactly what he was.
Charming.
I'm
curious. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm actually looking forward to see just a good rambunctious monster movie.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for Zac Efron. He's always been an actor I've I've never really liked any of his stuff.
You didn't like your High School Musical?
Nope. But that was one of the first films when I saw the trailer. I was like,
wow.
Was that? Ted Bundy. He plays Ted Bundy. And I'm like, I said I would go watch that. I would absolutely go watch that. And I thought it was decent. Because I'd watched a documentary probably a week before YouTube recommending that shit. But I had watched like a 45-minute documentary on it and thought it was super interesting. Then saw the trailer and I'm like, I want to go see that for sure.
I started watching a little bit of Yellowstone, and it talks a little bit about the cattle farmers and the cattle, or was it livestock agents?
Yeah, well, explain to the people what Yellowstone is, because I didn't hear about it until you said.
Yellowstone's about the...
it's a TV show. Who's it produced by?
It's produced by HBO.
HBO, wow.
Yeah, but it talks about the Dutton family that owns, I don't know how many acres. They're right off of Yellowstone, north of Yellowstone. They founded the town... Bozeman. Yeah. They founded it, and... they're like trying to keep their land, and then there's people that are coming in trying to build high-rise apartments and stuff out there, and so it's this whole like and then he's got family issues, and he's just like fighting on all fronts.
Yeah.
I only got like an episode and a half in.
Yeah.
You know me.
Yeah.
So,
it's
cool.
But no, that was one of the things. Like I had seen the clip he had sent to a group, and he sent us the clip of the guy. He was driving up in a truck, jumps out of his truck, and there's a tourist bus, and he tells them to get back on his bus. And this isn't their land.
Yeah, and the Chinese guy's like, you should share. You should share. And he's like, this is America. We don't share.
And I'm like, that's the most American thing I've ever heard. But it's interesting in that sense, you know. The idea behind that, and that's a very vibrant.
It also talks a little bit about Indians as well.
When's the era that they're shooting in?
Current.
What do you mean by current?
Was it like it's current?
Like 2016, 2017, 2018.
Oh wow.
Yeah, data released. Yeah.
Okay. No. I'm sorry. What was the period they shot? Like in some sense, is it you were talking about?
Yeah,
Indians?
it's current.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
about the Indian Reserve.
Yeah, the Indian Reserve.
It's
modern. It's a modern setting. Yeah, they're just cowboys. Yeah. I mean,
we're gonna go up there and shoot, man. Like I absolutely love Montana.
It's beautiful.
There's a film incentive happening in Montana that's
done. Let's go.
Going to be the same as LA right now.
Well, as of right now, guys, Theory of Three is moving to Montana.
Yep, that's all right.
we will see you there. We will check back in a week. No, like what we've been up to Montana. How many times? 3 times? 4 times?
3 or 4 times, yeah.
And absolutely love Montana. Like the snow, yes, everyone can get over it, but I love the cold anyway. I know a lot of people was gonna go, ugh.
Yeah.
But I absolutely
just the
love
mountains.
the cold.
Oh, it's so. I don't know.
No, if you get
So
cold,
majestic
just
up
go
there.
down the mountain. If you get hot, then go up the mountain.
And going
It's
down
fine.
the mountain is fun. Put on some skis and go down.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to ski, I'm sorry.
It's such a beautiful
Just,
state, though.
Lean forward, black out, wake up, and stand back up again. Do it again.
Yeah.
4 or 5 times, you'll be fine.
Yeah, that was one of our uncles had said he had tried to ski. But yeah, it's been interesting even being up in Montana. That's some of I absolutely love that stuff we got in Montana. A couple years we were there, I think that winter we were there, but some good footage, some good looking footage. That snow shot, I don't know how many people were like, how did you guys hit the shot? The sun's behind the mountain. We're shooting into a mountain. It's backlighting this snow that's falling down, and it's the most absolutely gorgeous shot. And people are like, how did you get the shot? It looks so good. That's one of the shots that I'm super proud of. It's like, that's cool. Because you see photographers all the time on Instagram, like that's kind of cool. That's cool. How do you get that? And you see that, it's like, okay, yeah, we got a frame. That's cool.
One good frame.
One good frame. If I die, I'll be fine.
All right. Well, I guess in other news, that might be it for us. I mean, it's been it's been a busy week, and we obviously had a lot of stuff to do, a lot of people we had to talk to. Just, get one of those in-between weeks where you're ready to go on projects. You're just constantly talking to people. Beside that, and me getting an absolutely horrendous sunburn, which I can't even move. This week's been pretty fantastic. Weather's been fantastic, so.
Sorry for the short episode, but
they'll probably be glad they're
like, oh, thank God, just be quiet. Oh.
Yeah. But thank you guys for listening, and you can catch us on here every Friday. We'll upload. Monday, backup upload day.
You can literally find us anywhere you can find podcasts.
Yeah, so we're everywhere, guys. So go listen, go check us out, and we'll catch you next time.